So dear delegates, this is a voice and update from science, and it goes very much in line to justify and support what Gonzalez just pointed out. Let me start by being very clear. The red thread in science over the last 20 years is that we have underestimated the pace of change and we have underestimated the risks we're facing. 20 years ago, the IPCC estimated that catastrophic risks, like destabilizing the Greenland ice sheet, could only occur at 5 to 6 degrees Celsius warming. Today, science concludes that the risk of triggering large-scale discontinuities is reached already at 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, and IPCC now concludes in its most recent report that West Antarctica may already have passed a tipping point, committing all future generations to an additional 2-meter sea level rise. This, dear friends, is the new risk landscape. We're following a path that takes us to 3 to 4 degrees Celsius warming in only 80 years, when your children have grown-up children. A place the planet has not been for the past 4 million years. In fact, the latest climate modeling shows that over the past 3 million years, the average temperature on Earth has never exceeded 2 degrees Celsius, compared to the average pre-industrial temperature. 3 million years and never above 2. This provides ample scientific proof that your legally binding global decision in Paris 2015 is entirely aligned with science. Go beyond 1.5 and we enter a severe danger zone. This is our planetary boundary for a safe and just future for humanity on Earth. Exceed 2 degrees Celsius and we risk passing a planetary tipping point that pushes us along an unstoppable Earth trajectory towards a hothouse Earth, where Earth itself self-amplifies warming due to losses in nature's capacity to take up carbon, permafrost thawing, forest loss, evidence we're seeing in every day of scientific publications, pushing us well beyond what we have caused through our fossil fuel burning and land use change. The planet would be taking over. 2019 is not only another dark year in terms of global warming, the past 5 years being the warmest on record, and climate impacts, droughts, floods, fires, heat waves, hitting societies and communities across the world. The latest data is staggering. Between 1999 and 2018, about 495,000 people died from direct results of the more than now 12,000 recorded extreme weather events, accelerated and amplified by our anthropogenic global warming, causing losses over the same time period of over $3.5 trillion US. No, 2019 is also unique in terms of the advancements of unequivocal scientific evidence. Gonzalez made reference to this. We stand on unprecedented mountain of proof. Through the IPCC special reports on land, oceans, the IPBES global assessment, the WMO-led United in Science report, which was presented at Antonio Guterres' Climate Summit in September. And then we have the 10 new insights in climate science that we presented earlier this week to all the delegates here in Madrid with the must-knows in science over the past year. 2 weeks ago, we even showed in the prestigious scientific journal Nature that 9 out of the 15 known tipping elements that regulates the state of the planet are on the move, and that they are interconnected and can trigger uncontrolled domino effects. Accelerated Arctic warming, we saw the latest report just yesterday, and Greenland melting drives influx of fresh water into the North Atlantic. This may have contributed to a 15% slowdown of the circulation of heat in the North Atlantic. This slowdown can destabilize the West African monsoon, triggering droughts in Africa's Sahel region, affecting millions of people. But it can also dry out the Amazon. It can also disrupt the East Asian monsoon and cause a heat build-up in the Southern Ocean, which can explain the acceleration of the ice melt in Antarctica. We live in an interconnected system on the move. There's no feasible IPCC scenario, as you all know, that can take us to 1.5 degrees Celsius warming without bending the global curve of emissions 2020. The Global Carbon Project 2019, released earlier in this week here in Madrid, shows that global emissions continue growing. The remaining budget of allowable CO2 emissions for a chance to limit warming to 1.5 is now down to 340 billion tons of carbon dioxide. You know, this corresponds to 8 years of continued emissions at current pace. We enter the decisive decade. Current assessments show that just the existing and almost 600 gigawatts of new coal-fired plants planned or under construction in the world will on their own consume essentially the entirety of this budget. So coal alone can push us beyond the Paris limit. But even phasing out fossil fuels will not be enough. Oh no, IPCC scenarios are very clear. To take us well below 2, we need to also safeguard and keep all the natural ecosystems intact. We need to have very good carbon sequestration. If nature fails, we fail as well. The mounting evidence that we are facing catastrophic risks and that we're running out of time provides scientific justification for declaring a state of planetary emergency. This has been discussed among 8 heads of state at the UN Climate Summit, including Frans Timmermans, the now executive vice chair of the European Commission. We will push this scientifically towards the UN General Assembly in 2020. What's the purpose? To create panic? Of course not. It is to unleash transformation and an emergence plan towards a safe and just climate future. We have this plan. The scientific community has presented an exponential roadmap showing that we can bend the global curve of emissions 2020 and cut emissions by half by 2030 with existing technologies and the current economy. We can, and the window is open, but barely. It's time to act. Thank you very much.